Hello, I'm Sean Dye. I am an artist. I live and work in St. George, Vermont. I teach at the University of Vermont. I teach drawing and painting. And I went to Pratt Institute, studied painting there many years ago. And today we're going to start with doing priming a gesso board to get it ready for oil painting. So talk a little bit about what I'm going to add to it and why. So the first thing we want to do is carefully remove the cover from the gesso board without scratching it. So you can take a sharp object and scratch the back of your board and remove the plastic. If you scratch the front, you're going to end up with an impression on the board that will cause problems with your painting in the future. So what I'm going to be using today is Holbein's matte acrylic paint. The great thing about the matte acrylic paint is that it dries with a matte finish which has a slight texture to it, and that's going to be a great surface for oils to bind to. So you can see behind me I have a surface that I've started here. This is a landscape in Vermont not too far from my house, and I want to get rid of the white of the gesso board, and I have a kind of a loose wash of the matte acrylics, and I'll show you right now how I like to do that. So I have a wide gesso brush here. And I'm going to take a little bit of my three primary colors, a little pinch of yellow, a little bit of red, and I'm going to use a speck of blue just to dull things down once I get an orangey color. So it's okay to start with the white if you want, but I prefer to start with a colored surface when I'm painting. I feel like I already have a painting started if I have color down before I get going. Use plenty of water. In this case, I like to have a little bit of the white gesso coming through to give a little bit of glow to the paint. And what you can do is you can decide how much pigment you want and how dark you want your surface to be. I'm going to put just a speck of that blue in there to dull this down a little bit. Now, I could let my board dry to this color. I have a little bit of texture, some bubbles, and some strokes and stuff like that. One of the things you may notice is I move my brush in different directions so I don't have all vertical or all horizontal strokes. But in this case, what I'd like to do is I'd have a little bit less pigment on there. And I'd like to have a little bit lighter, a little bit softer. So what I'm going to do is while it's still wet, I'm going to take a towel and I'm just going to kind of push the paint around a little bit and let it dry. So depending on the heat and humidity, this will take just a few minutes to dry. I live in Vermont. I work in the winter a lot in my studio, so I throw this in front of my heater, and within 10 minutes or so, it's a nice hard cured surface, great for painting. In the summertime, you can put them outside, let them dry in the sun, but in general, you should wait maybe at least a half hour to an hour to make sure that the acrylic paint is really cured, and then you'll be ready to go with your next step. Here I've sketched with a little bit of charcoal. That could be your first starting point, or you could go right with your paint.